Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Randall Bell. Dr. Elizabeth Lombardo is here. Always good to see you on another episode. We're going to talk about self-worth, I think.
Self-worth.
Self-worth?
Believing in yourself and your worth.
Okay. So, just as a quick introduction on this episode, Elizabeth, Dr. E, we will say, is, you see her on TV all the time talking about really fascinating kind of psychological concepts. What I think makes her work so powerful is she takes, semesters in doctoral degree programs and makes it, accessible so that, people like me can kind of understand it. So let's get right into it.
Let's jump right in. All right.
Okay. Self-worth.
So we're talking about self-worth. A lot of conversations out there on confidence and the importance of confidence. Confidence is believing in your ability to do something. I see it's much deeper than that, and it's self-worth that's most important. How worthy do you view yourself as an individual? Here's the key. What goes on up here has a direct impact on what goes on out there.
Okay.
So if you question your self-worth, if you don't really believe in yourself, then you're going to interpret other people's actions as being a personal attack to you, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the way that I look at it is there's conditional self-worth and unconditional self-worth. But let's start with conditional self-worth because that's the one that most of our society has.
So this is kind of the red negative image.
Less helpful.
Okay, so we're talking about everything
We're looking up here, yeah.
Okay.
So conditional self-worth means you believe in yourself if.
Okay.
If certain criteria are met. So for some people, it's I believe in myself if I look a certain way or I have a certain job title. For some people, it's I believe in myself if people around me bow down to me or think highly of me. For some people, it's I believe in myself if I have certain accolades in my life. I believe in myself if.
Okay, well, I get it. So this is like if I lose weight, if I get these college degrees, if someone likes me in return.
If I'm a member of a gang or a group, if.
Okay.
And the problem with if thinking is it's almost like a treadmill. When you get on a treadmill, you take one step and then suddenly that foot is behind, you have to take another step and you get nowhere. So when we're iffing on ourselves, if we will, we constantly are scanning the environment to determine how we view ourselves. And once we achieve that, very rarely does someone then say, okay, now I'm good. Then they're like, okay, what's the next thing? So I believe in myself if this person says something nice to me, but then I need someone else to say something nice to me, someone else to compliment me, someone else to to point out what I'm doing well. So it's this constant treadmill of really never achieving that sense of self-worth.
Wow, this one principle is a game changer. I've known, in the work in the business I'm in, some like stars and rock stars, and there's like a lull in their career, and you have this image that they just feel wonderful about themselves the whole time. But behind the scenes, I've been at the kitchen table with some of these people, that kind of explains why they're kind of down.
Yes.
Because if they don't have a leading role coming up, they take it really kind of personally.
Yes.
Is that
then I'm not worthy. Then I'm worth less. Yeah. We see it a lot. I see it a lot with my professional athletes who I work with.
Oh, is that right?
They're winning, everything's great, and then they get injured. Or maybe then they're no longer on the team and they lack that self-worth of, because they're not the star anymore, they feel worth less.
And I know that in your coaching career, a lot of your clients are like the super rich, or super wealthy, successful in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
Do you see it with that, if I don't making so much money or all that kind of stuff, same kind of idea?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And then that ties nicely to the next part, which is others. So people with conditional self-worth compare themselves to others. So some of my clients, if they don't have the best, greatest, newest gadget, toy, plane, whatever it is, then they don't feel as good about themselves. But in general, when it comes to conditional self-worth, people compare themselves to others. How do I stack up to others? So for example, these could be the bullies or the gossipers, putting people down to feel better about themselves.
Okay.
Narcissists tend to have a lot of conditional self-worth, right? They only feel good about themselves when you're agreeing with me and telling me how wonderful I am. It can also be the people pleasers. So the people pleaser wants everyone around them to be happy so that they feel good about themselves. It's not that that's a bad thing, it's just that it's not a healthy thing to determine your worth according to how other people react to you. Research shows that the longer people spend on Facebook, the more likely they are to be depressed.
Oh no.
And one of the main reasons, and it's probably true for the other social media outlets also, is because people are comparing themselves to others. Look at his life, it's so perfect, right? Their family is so wonderful, their vacations, she's so beautiful.
Okay.
I always remind people, everyone looks good with a filter, right? But when people see them on Facebook, on Insta, they're comparing themselves to others, and they feel like they're falling short.
Wow, that's fascinating. You know, I was over at Orange County Airport, and that's by Newport Beach, a lot of money and everything. And we were doing a little helicopter thing for a case we had, and this guy pulls up in a jet, and he's like obviously feeling pretty good about us. I'd feel good about, having a jet, but, and then a guy pulls up with a bigger private jet, and it's like the guy with the smaller private jet, you could see that he was tweaked about seeing the big jet pull in.
Yeah, exactly it. Conditional self-worth. Yeah.
Okay.
We see this in maybe younger kids with how many likes do you get on Instagram or on other social media. I feel good about myself if I get 100 likes, but if I don't, then I don't feel good about myself.
Okay. Totally get
Comparing ourselves to others. So then it comes over to the win-lose. When people have conditional self-worth, they operate on a win-lose. If I win, then you lose.
Right.
But if you win, then I lose.
Okay.
So that means I can't celebrate your successes because I feel threatened. I feel like I'm not good enough because you're better than me.
Okay. Or you're better than me. Probably a little more accurate. Yeah. Okay. So in other words, having to compete and always be winning. I have to win, you have to lose to feel good about myself.
Feel good about myself.
This is all negative stuff.
This is all that conditional self-worth. I believe in myself only in certain conditions.
Okay. Makes sense.
Personalize. People with conditional self-worth tend to personalize other people's actions.
Okay.
He walked by me, he thinks he's better than me. Okay. Or there's research out there that shows that over 80% of Americans have road rage, aggression, or anger. Over 80%. First time I was on GMA, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Why? Someone cuts in front of you and you think, oh my gosh, he thinks he's better than me. Who is he? Here's the thing. He's not thinking of you. You're not even in his mind, but people personalize that kind of behavior.
That happens in Chicago where you're from, but here in California, everybody drives very politely.
So nice.
Very gentle.
Come on in front of me.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Actually, I've been to parts of the country where they're very courteous.
Yes.
I was in Oklahoma, seriously.
South.
And I put the blinker on and the car slowed down to let me in. And then I pulled over to look at my map. And this lady pulled over to come see if I was okay. And I'm like, thank you so much. But I'm just looking at the map, and I was so appreciative that would never happen in California.
Yeah, no.
As I'm leaving, a car pulls up behind her to see if she's okay.
So if you want to be with nice people, move to Oklahoma.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great.
So it's that personalizing. And here's the thing. People react to you maybe because of how they view you.
Yeah.
But usually it's because of what's going on in their own mind. Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they ate something that isn't agreeing with them.
Right.
So how they act has minimal to do with you and certainly not to do with your worth and has more to do with them. But when we have conditional self-worth, we personalize.
Okay.
And then people with conditional self-worth feel very threatened by other people. Other people's differences, their ethnic backgrounds, their religious beliefs, their political beliefs. They feel very threatened by anything that's different from them.
Okay. That is, you could spend like months discussing that and exploring that. There's a lot of things I like about Core IQ, but one of the things I like is, we met on the Today Show in New York, and I think our segment was whopping long because you were so talented. I think we're at 5.5 minutes, which for TV time is like forever. And yet, what I love about this is we can talk about it, but you could talk about this way beyond what we're doing here.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing, most of our society is in conditional self-worth. So I was talking to a literary agent. I was thinking about writing a book on this. It will come out eventually. It's not happening yet.
Okay.
And it was so interesting. One of the things he said was, yeah, when I have a new suit on, I feel really good about myself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's a great example of conditional self-worth. I feel good about myself if I look good.
Right.
We want to feel good about yourself at all times. Can you feel even better about yourself if you're looking good? Absolutely. But if that's how you defined your worth, then you're always going to be left empty. You're always going to be left feeling not good enough.
So, as a professional that works in this whole area, you mentioned something. What percentage of society do you think is kind of stuck in this mode? If you had to guess, or a range, what's your best guess?
Over 85%,
Really?
if not higher. Yeah.
Really?
And here's the thing too, to remember that when we are in higher levels of stress, we tend to go more into this.
Yeah.
If we're in low levels of stress, if we're hanging out with people we love and we feel good, it's easier to feel good about ourselves. But as we become more stressed, we tend to put those conditions on ourselves.
I got a buddy. I actually went to college with him, and he grew up to be very successful. He started a bank. How many people do you know that start a bank? Very successful bank too. And it's been interesting to see the friends. We're still buddies to this day. He and his wife are some of my best friends. But it's interesting that I think some of our old friends were kind of jealous of him, and for some reason, I just think it's great. I just don't have, I haven't gone there with that. But I think some people kind of get into this kind of win-lose. I don't have good self-worth unless I'm beating you.
Yes.
And here he was winning. He certainly beat me. But it was like I was happy for him.
Yes.
So did I do something right there?
Yeah, you did win-win, which is unconditional self-worth. Which we're gonna get
let's
to
talk about the.
Yay.
Are we done with the negative, or is there more to talk about with the negative?
Well, we just want to be really aware. Again, this is so prevalent in our society, and it's not that it's wrong with someone. It's just here's an opportunity to feel good about yourself because of who you are, and that's when we go to that unconditional self-worth.
Okay.
So unconditional self-worth means you believe in yourself regardless, not in a narcissistic "I'm better than you" sort of way. That's conditional, right? But I believe in myself because of who I am.
Okay.
And it's really based on your values.
Wow.
Your core values. Values are intrinsic characteristics. All of them are good.
Okay.
But each one of us has specific core values that are more important to us than others.
Okay.
We're going to do a little exercise in a moment to find out what your core values is. So core values are, so stay tuned. But it's really based on applying those core values, those core characteristics, what's important to you, so that you're comfortable in your own skin.
Okay. I like that. So, but before we get too much into the positive, I have one more kind of lingering question with the negative. Let's say, as you're talking about this, let me be honest, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. And 85% of us are approximately. Is this kind of self-diagnostic where you kind of look at this and if you're honest with yourself, you say, hey, I kind of, if I'm honest, I'm doing that or I'm doing that. Is that the first process, is to look at the negative and then go to the positive, or how,
Well,
using
it's really
this chart?
to assess where you are. When do you feel good about yourself?
Okay.
Is it only when people give you accolades?
Okay.
Because here's the thing, if you have unconditional self-worth, it still feels good when people say, good job, I'm proud of you,
Sure.
or you get, a payment or whatever.
Yeah.
But is that the only time you feel good about yourself? If you are in a place of conditional self-worth, you constantly are scanning the environment, looking for ways to determine how should I feel about myself.
Okay.
How should I feel? As opposed to just being like, I'm good, and I can keep getting better, and
Okay.
I'm good with who I am. Again,
Okay.
it's that being comfortable in your own skin.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. Okay, so a lot of us, I'll just speak for myself, guilty of this kind of stuff. We want to shift to a more positive thing. Tell us more about the, going positive.
Yeah, so again, it's that notion of you believe in yourself because of who you are on the inside, not because of how other people react to you, not because of how much money you made, not because of what you look like, but because of who you are on the inside. It's applying your values and your strengths. It goes to that, what you were talking about, the win-win.
Yeah.
Right? So you can celebrate other people's wins. You don't feel threatened by them. You're like, yay, this is a friend of mine who's doing well. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that particular case, I did it right. But
That one.
but other friends,
Do you want to talk about them? I'm just kidding.
maybe later.
We'll do a therapy session
I'll set
off
up
camera.
a session.
Yeah.
I'll set up an appointment.
So this is the notion of a rising tide lifts all ships.
Okay.
Right? If you're doing well, then that feels good. I'm so happy for you. And kind of that karma,
Right.
maybe some people will call it, but just celebrating other people's wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
So again, it's you believe in yourself regardless. When people have unconditional self-worth, they're very accepting of other people's differences. And I would contend, as I do a lot of training on diversity and embracing diversity, you cannot have an environment that's truly open to diversity unless you address the unconditional self-worth. Because otherwise people are too threatened by people's differences. It seems like an attack on their ego. So really to create, whether it's a country, a community, a school, a business place that's truly open to diversity, we need to be addressing this unconditional self-worth.
So is that why sometimes diversity doesn't work? Is because these underlying things are kind of out of whack?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because if that person's different, it's either they're right or I'm right, win-lose.
Okay.
And so if they're right, then I'm wrong.
Right.
And so it threatens the ego. It makes me feel like I'm not good enough.
I think in that department, with my business, we're kind of doing that right. Because I like diversity.
Yeah.
I want men and I want women. I want different ages. I want different ethnic backgrounds. Because I really think teamwork brings something better to the table than if everybody's a tall white guy like me, sitting around the table. Because that
Right.
can get kind of stagnant if everybody's thinking
Of
the same way.
Of course. But that's because you're not threatened by other people's differences. Again.
Yeah, no, I think on that one I'm kind of self-evaluating.
I know. It's partly a therapy session for you. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so accepting and then empathize. People with unconditional self-worth can empathize. They can empathize with other people. Maybe they're having a bad day. I don't have to personalize it. I don't have to say, oh, that person's a jerk because they did that. They can empathize, and they can also empathize with themselves. I have a saying, it's not failure, it's data. It's not failure, it's data, it's information. A lot of times when we have conditional self-worth, if we make a mistake, we think, oh, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I can't do it. When you have unconditional self-worth, when you make a mistake, it's just information. So you say, why did I get the outcome I didn't want? What were the ingredients that went into it? And then how can I make things better now? How can I learn and not have this happen in the future? How can I take this information and help someone else out in the future? So really embracing the learning part of it as opposed to deeming yourself a failure.
So the way I think of it is when you say data, you're looking at the situation objectively, dispassionately, fairly, rather than all that. You're trying to put the emotions aside and just saying, hey, you know what, I kind of made a mistake here.
Yes.
And here are the facts, and maybe here's why I did, not so much as an excuse, but to really kind of understand how I can go forward, not make that mistake again. Just look at things objectively.
Just the facts.
For both ourselves and with others.
Exactly. Because when we're in a state of conditional self-worth, we tend to judge. Because remember, what goes on up here goes on out here. So if I have conditional self-worth, I'm constantly judging myself, which means I'm constantly judging everyone else too. I didn't do it consciously, but what goes on up here impacts out what goes on out here. Wow. So if you have unconditional self-worth and you're like, I'm good with myself, then when you make a mistake, you can forgive yourself and move on, but you can also do the same with other people.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you let them walk all over you, but it means that you can empathize with them.
Okay, what you're saying reminds me of a book I read, and I wish I remembered the name because I like to give it credit, but credit certainly doesn't belong to me. But when I was reading through this book, it basically said that, it was talking about anger, and I had been ripped off by somebody, and I was really mad about it. And it basically said, you know what, when you kind of address your issues, you find that your outrage towards other people kind of resolves itself easier. Is that kind of the same thing here?
Yes. Because when people are hurt by other people's actions, they think it's the other people's actions, but really what they're doing is they're personalizing that behavior. You did that to me. You think you're better than me. You think I'm worthless, whatever it is. And that's your own self-judgment.
Okay.
That's your own fear.
Okay. So that in fact that's the only thing I remember from the whole book. In fact, I don't remember the name of the book. but so we kind of address this, and a lot of this goes away
Yes.
inherently.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So when we can have unconditional self-worth, think about if you're a leader, whether you're a leader in your family or your classroom, if you're a student or a teacher, or in your community, or in business. When we have unconditional self-worth, we can embrace diversity. We can take different people's ideas and bring them together. When something happens that we don't want to have happen, we can learn from that. But we don't have to be the dictator, let me tell you what's happening.
Yeah.
We can work with the team to move forward.
Well, I happen to know that you are currently doing a tour all over the country training leaders
Yes.
at big events. I mean,
Yes.
how many cities are you?
We have a 12-city tour on
And
leadership
you got
development.
3 more to go?
We have
Or?
3 more to go.
Okay, so I mean, real leaders in real business are really paying attention
Yes.
to this stuff.
Yes.
So it's not just, the high schoolers that need it. Everybody needs
Everybody
to know.
needs this, yeah.
Okay.
And here's another concept. We all have done things that we aren't proud of.
Guilty.
What are yours? No, I'm just kidding.
We're going to need more
I'm
time.
just kidding. But a lot when we have conditional self-worth, a lot of times we will base our worth on those mistakes. I made this mistake and I can't change it, and so I'm no good. As opposed to, I made this mistake. I'm good in my core, but I did some not so good things. And the reason why that's different and very important to differentiate is because when we have a conditional self-worth, if you've already done something that isn't all that positive, then a lot of times you'll kind of stay there. If you, engaged in an illegal act, well, that's what I do, and we're more likely to do it again, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm a good person, I did this, I'm going to move on. I'm going to make a change.
I
So
gotcha.
that sense of self-worth is so important, especially when we make mistakes or when something happens that we wish we hadn't done, in order to move forward in a positive way.
I love that. It reminds me that when I was doing the volunteer work at the homeless shelter, there's a lot of self-esteem issues going on. Frankly, I wish I'd known this stuff. But what I was doing with the homeless is I was teaching them executive skills and life skills like time management and how to set a goal, how to build a resume, etiquette in a job interview, these kind of life skills. And this one guy, he was quiet. He came every week to my class, but he was really quiet. And one day he just popped up and said, you know what, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to do 50 push-ups a day. I'm going to go meditate on the beach. I'm going to go write my resume, all the things.
Yes.
He's going to do them all at once. I said, no, time out. I know how the world works. Just pick one thing. And he says, I'm going to do 50 push-ups a day. That's my one thing. He came back the next, and I said, time out. Don't do 50. Do one push-up. And then do 49 more if you want to. And I was basically saying, I want you to have an easy win.
A win.
It was about self-esteem,
Yep,
really.
yep, for sure.
He came back the next week, he says, Dr. Bell, I only did 6 push-ups. I said, that is awesome. You did 6 times more on average than your commitment.
Yeah.
I said, great job. This guy hadn't heard anybody say great job in a long time. And the next week he came back and did 10 push-ups, 15. But really what was going on is isn't that cool? It is this conditional self-worth.
Yeah.
And now he was starting to get some feedback.
Yeah.
And that motivated. The guy got a job. He got back on his feet. Cool stuff.
That is very cool stuff.
Okay, keep going.
For sure. Yeah, so what we want to do is to cultivate this unconditional self-worth, because when we believe that we are worthy of things, we'll put ourselves out there. So, for example, looking at people who lose weight, sometimes people lose weight, but they don't keep it off. They have the notion of, I had one cookie and messed up my diet, I might as well have the whole plate. That perfectionism. But what we find is that when you have unconditional self-worth, you realize that you are in fact worthy of taking the time to exercise, of taking the time to meditate, of taking the time to cook your meals. When you feel that unconditional self-worth, you're worthy of doing these positive things for yourself.
So I'm very guilty of that. You know what? I had Dorito and what's 2, and then before you know it, the whole bag's gone. It's like, well, I might as well go get a hamburger. I just saw one on Carl's Jr. and you just kind of just go. I'm speaking for myself. Just pig out. What kind of thinking should replace that kind of thing? What when you start eating too many chips or whatever, what do you do?
Well, the first thing you do is forgive yourself,
okay,
right? And the second thing you remember is that 2 chips is not the same as a bag. right? I mean, you're into math, right? That's different.
Yeah.
But the third thing is to consume it mindfully. Like
Okay.
how often do you eat and then you think, oh, I'm feeling guilty, and then you keep eating and you barely even enjoy it.
Right.
Savor. If you're having a chip or two, savor every bite. Really enjoy the process instead of feeling guilty. You will eat less and you'll enjoy it more.
Okay, so I think we're a little off track, but
Nothing to do with conditional self-worth, but that's okay.
But you should not be eating while you're watching TV.
Do not eat
Am
while
I
you're watching.
right?
That is a very
Because your
good
head's
idea.
there and
Exactly.
you're not really
eating
savoring.
mindfully.
Okay. So about being mindful, I mean, what else do you want to share here? This is just awesome.
Just reminding yourself that if you're in that conditional self-worth, you're not stuck there, even if you've always been like this. And again, I said 85%, probably higher, of society is here. The goal is how can you cultivate your unconditional self-worth? So we're going to do a little exercise on how you can do that.
Okay.
Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is I want you to identify someone who you admire. But since you're here, I'm going to ask you, who do you admire? Or you can just kind of come up with someone you admire. You don't have to say who that person is.
I'll say my dad.
Okay.
I admire
Your dad.
my dad. Yeah.
Okay. What are 3 things about your dad that you admire?
He was even keel. He was a steady hard worker. He was very honest, and he had a cool job. He worked for Fender Guitar, and he loved his work. He was into work he really enjoyed it. He was passionate about it.
He was passionate about it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you identify those 3 things that you admire in someone else, here's what I want you to know. Those are 3 things you admire in yourself.
Really?
Yes.
Who knew?
Having a cool job that you're passionate about. Being even keel, being a hard worker.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And here's the beauty. Whatever those characteristics are, you already have them in you. You may not be applying them so much. We may need to dust them off a bit, but you already have them in you. So once you identify 3 things, then pick one. So pick one. Any one of those 3.
Work you love.
Work you love,
Yeah.
doing work you love. Okay, so once you pick that one thing, then ask yourself, what is one thing I can do this week? You were talking about one thing. What's one thing I can do this week to apply that? And you kind of do it throughout your life, right?
That's one department I can't complain about because I work really hard.
Because you're already doing it.
Yeah, I love my work and I love the volunteer work. I'm pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always that way. But I'm into time management. I have all my days planned out when I fly out tomorrow morning where I'm going to dinner and da-da-da-da-da. So I gotta say, I'm planning that already.
Yeah. So you're already doing this.
I kind of am.
For you out there who, if you aren't already applying some of these concepts, just take one step. Right? It doesn't have to be if health is a priority for you. As you said, you don't have to do 50 push-ups a day and stop eating sugar and give up all alcohol, right? Take one step, just like what you were saying with this gentleman, doing 1 push-up or even 10 push-ups. Look for small wins that you can get. And the reason why we want to do that is when you apply the values and characteristics that are most important to you, it helps cultivate your unconditional self-worth.
As you say that, there's something I can do better.
Okay.
Because I thought I had it all planned out as you're talking. It's like, you know what? There's room for improvement. I walked 5 miles yesterday. It always feels great. You can have that buzz all day long. That feels good. I'm gonna plan that into my schedule. Take my sneakers with me, which I wasn't planning to. I'm gonna work at an exercise. Go 5 miles while I'm in Texas.
Great.
Okay.
And again, if that's what's important to you, that's going to help cultivate your unconditional self-worth.
Okay. I dig it.
Yay.
Love it.
Yay.
Okay. Thanks for coming on
Thank
Core
you.
IQ. Thanks for this great information, and we'll see you guys all soon.